Hey, Shalom, Markins, Rukama, Kapashim, Jim, Islam, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Hakudash. I want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles, GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful that pushing his truth and all sincerity. Hopefully, Lord, willing, a quick video. Um, you know, there's been a lot of talk among Jake out there recently. This whole Cleopatra, what was it? I think it's a Netflix thing that's coming out or is out or whatever. And Jake desperate to cling on to the things to kind of like increase their standing in the world, right? They want to be related to every popular or famous, or certain famous people to kind of get in some more street cred, some heritage or something, man. 'Cause they claiming that Cleopatra was black is one of their people, and that's not true. That's not true. All right, and that's something that Esau does. Esau's done a lot of that. He has hijacked a lot of uh you know our things to prop himself up in the earth. Okay, but Cleopatra is not one of them. He can actually claim Esau can actually claim Cleopatra. As these so-called white people would like to claim it because she's in fact a Greek. Okay, she's not you Jake might say, oh, she's not African. She's not African. She ain't black. She might add some sort of skin tone to her, but she weren't a so-called black woman. To put it in your terms. Yeah. So really, she was a Greek, and and probably to the ignorance of a lot of our people, a lot of JCat there, man. There's more than one Cleopatra in that family line in the Ptolemaic dynasty, right? And this is just the famous one that everybody knows, right? What you Drake trying to clean. Cause what's it? Because what images did I see the other day? I don't know. I'm pretty sure there was some sort of Netflix coming. Oh, okay, yeah, Queen Cleopatra, and they got her as a colored woman. But even if she weren't strictly speaking so-called white, like I said, she might have had some sort of hue to her because of her mother, whoever her mother was, wherever Esau got her mother from, she might have some sort of hue to her, but she wasn't a so-called black woman. Right, she is a seed of the serpent. She's a seed of the Edomites. These or they were calling themselves Greek at the time. But she's of the seed of Esau, right? So and the scriptures will confirm that line. And like I said, there's more than one Cleopatra, but this is the famous one known as Cleopatra the seventh, right? Cleopatra was queen of the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt, okay, the Greek kingdom of Egypt, right, from 51 to 30 BC, and its last active ruler, a member of the Ptolemaic dynasty. She was a descendant of its founder Ptolemy Soter, a Macedonian Greek general and companion of Alexander the Great, right? So she's of the Greek, so-called Greek line, okay, of these Edomites, okay, from Ptolemy Soter, okay, a Macedonian, okay, right? So she don't descend from so-called black people. All right. So I know Jake, they're trying to find some credibility in the world, but you actually wrong on this one. You know. So what I wanted to do, because Cleopatra is actually mentioned in the scriptures, but what I just found out that it's not this Cleopatra is mentioned here in Maccabees 10 isn't the same Cleopatra that most people think about, right? But was one before her, I think. But anyway, I'm gonna read this, and we're gonna just go through some quick genealogy type things, and wrap up the video. All right, so this is from First Maccabees chapter 10, and it says, in the 160th year, Alexander the son of Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, went up and took Ptolemy, for the people have received him by means whereof he reigned there. Right, so the current king of the Seleucid Empire, okay, was Alexander at this point in time. Okay, he was the son of Antiochus Epiphanes, who was a great wickedness against the children of Israel, right? Now, bear in mind the Ptolemaic Empire, the Seleucid Empire, and well, these were the only ones warring at the time, if I remember correctly. The other one wasn't around. It was taken up by Antiochus, I believe, if I remember correctly. Right, but that was being run by Cassander, if I remember correctly. Right, I have to go back through that, but um, they were Greek kingdoms or Greek empires that were ruling that were warring each other. All right, and the Ptolemies had rulership over Egypt, right? And but they started, addressing themselves as pharaohs. They started wearing some of the get up, with the pharaoh hats and all that kind of stuff, right? So, people have been confused over time that these people were so-called dark-skinned people. They were Egyptians, but they weren't Egyptians. They were just Greeks imitating, the Egyptians and that. So people get confused when they get to Cleopatra because they feel, oh yeah, well she's from Egypt, but she was actually a Greek, right? So, but anyway, I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's quite lengthy, but you can read it. And it's mostly talking about Alexander and Demetrius, right, and the Ptolemies, right? So I'm going to jump down. Pardon me. I'm going to jump down to verse 40 something. What's further than this? Right. I'm going to start from verse 54 here. Right? It says, now therefore let us make a league of amity together and give me now thy daughter to wife, right? Because Alexander has gone to the Ptolemies, and basically said, look, give me your daughter to wife, we'll make a league together, blah, 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 right? And I will be thy son-in-law and will give thee and her as according to thy dignity. Then Ptolemy the king answered, and these terms, Ptolemy and Cleopatra, a lot of the times these were titles. Ptolemy was certainly a title, but like I said, a lot of women that ruled in the Ptolemaic line, their names were Cleopatra, and there's been more than one of them. Okay, the one that we know, which was just the last one, which was the seventh, right? So I'm gonna show you that, right? So, but it says, then Ptolemy the king gave answer, saying, happy be the day wherein thou did return into the land of thy fathers, and sattest in the throne of their kingdom. And now will I do to thee as thou hast written. Meet me therefore at Ptolemy, that we may see one another, for I will marry my daughter to thee according to thy desire. So Ptolemy went out of Egypt with his daughter Cleopatra. Now, it doesn't tell you which one that is. It just says Cleopatra. It doesn't give you numbers and uh, name extensions or whatever. But the name Cleopatra appears, right? So he was going to marry, or he did marry his daughter Cleopatra to this Alexander, the son of Antiochus Epiphanes. All right, so it says, and they came into the Ptolemy, and in the 162nd year, where King Alexander meeting him, he gave unto him his daughter Cleopatra, and celebrated her marriage at Ptolemy with great glory, as the manner of kings is. All right, so like I said, they're all Greeks. All right, you go into history, and they're all Greeks. Okay, they came from Alexander the Greek, the Macedonian. They were, originally the generals that started up these empires that split the kingdom up, right? So the Ptolemies had one, the Seleucid Empire had another one, and they were the last two battling it out, and so they were making kind of a league together, right? So Cleopatra, the Cleopatra in the scripture is, right? So this is the Ptolemaic dynasty, right? And it'll tell you here, the Ptolemaic dynasty, ancient Greek, blah, 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 sometimes referred to as the Lagid dynasty. Ptolemy's father's Lagus, was a Macedonian Greek royal dynasty which ruled the Ptolemaic kingdom in ancient Egypt during the Hellenistic period, right? So Ptolemaic was the last dynasty of ancient Egypt, right? But it was a Greek dynasty, right? This is where Cleopatra's comes out from, right? And you can see this is Ptolemy Soter, the first, supposedly, right? And this is what he was wearing. He was wearing the get up, you know. You tell you got the big ears, Edomite. But yeah, he wearing the get up, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Ptolemy Soter was the first, was the founder. Final ruler, Cleopatra the seventh, right? Which is the one that everybody knows that this, you know, this Netflix series has been done about or whatever. It's that one. But she is the seventh. There were 6 more before her. All right. And so, oh gosh, let me read this quickly because this is interesting, right? It says, like the earlier dynasties of ancient Egypt, the Ptolemaic dynasty practiced inbreeding, including sibling marriage. All right, so just beware of that as well. There's a lot of incest going on. It says, but this did not start in earnest until nearly a century into the dynasty's history. All the male rulers of the dynasty took the name Ptolemy. Okay, it was a title. It was a type of title, right? While queens regent were called Cleopatra, right? Arsinoe or Bernice. And they had 3 different types of names for those queen regents, right? The most famous member of the line was the last queen, Cleopatra VII, right? Known for her role in the Roman political battles between Julius Caesar and Pompey, as we know the story, right? And later between Octavian and Mark Antony. But she was of the Greek lineage of Ptolemy Soter, right? Who was a so-called white man. He was an Edomite. Okay, these Macedonians are related to the Edomites, right? Right, so I'll scroll through here, right? So here's a list of rulers, right? You're gonna see Bernice's, Arsinoe's, and Cleopatra first Syra here. But the one in question, I do believe, that's mentioned in the scripture is, if I am correct, is Cleopatra's 6th Tryphenia, right? And one that comes after it is the famous one. Okay, but again, they all descend from the line of Ptolemy and all that kind of stuff. And as we teach, the mothers are irrelevant, but the mothers could have been, you know, from other nations around about that had skin color and that. So she might have had a kind of, you know, a hue to her. Okay, not making her strictly white looking or so-called white looking, but she is of that Greek lineage. She don't belong to our people, right? So you can drop that. All right. Let me click on. Right. So you see, like, you know, if this image is to be believed, right? She got a bit of a thick lip there. You know, she might have got that from some woman from a nation, but you know, she's of Edomite stock. All right. She was married to this Alexander, right? We just read in the scriptures. I don't know if it says too much here. It doesn't say too much here. Right, but I believe it's this one, and I'm gonna marry that up with the Seleucid dynasty and find Alexander, right? So Seleucid dynasty says here from was a Macedonian Greek royal family, right? So that's all Greeks, right? All so-called so-called white people, these Edomites, right? Founded by Seleucus first Nicator, which ruled the Seleucid Empire, centered in the Near East regions and in Asia part of the earlier Achaemenid Persian Empire during the Hellenistic period. All right, so we're going to go through the Seleucid rulers here, right? So that's, you know, the first dude. And you see a whole bunch of them, right? So, but we were looking for Alexander. So Antiochus, was it the 4th Epiphanes? He's the one that caused Israel a lot of problems that you read a lot about in the book of Maccabees, right? And this was his son, Alexander Balas, right? And it tells you, if we look at this column here, what does it say? It says consorts, right? And you got Cleopatra Thea, right? So I do believe that is that same Cleopatra we just was reading about a second ago, which looked at, right? So Alexander I Theopatra Ugaritz, surname Balas, was a ruler of Seleucid Empire from 150 to 152. 145 BC, right? Picked from obscurity and supported by the neighboring Roman allied Attic Kingdom, Alexander landed in Phoenicia in 152 BC and started a civil war against Seleucid king Demetrius Sota. So this is what you read in the book of Maccabees, right? In the Maccabees chapter 10. Let's see. It says he married the princess Cleopatra Thea to seal an alliance with the neighboring Ptolemaic kingdom. His reign saw the steady retreat of the Seleucid Empire's eastern border, with important eastern satrapies such as Media being lost to nascent Parthian Empire. Right, so you know the scriptures, or this history backs what the scriptures is saying here, right? With this marriage between Alexander and Cleopatra. So I believe that to be Cleopatra Thea. Okay, but then this other Cleopatra comes along and is the famous one. But again, out of that line of the Greeks, out of the line of that Ptolemaic Empire, okay, she's not of our people. She's not a so-called black woman. All right, she just ain't. Yeah, this devil, man. So until his epiphanies. But yeah, so like I said, it's just that I wanted to bring out, and the Lord willing, this is edifying and shed some light on it. But again, this any of these like Cleopatras, they're not so-called black. We're not Israelites. They're not anything to do with our people. Okay, these are this is all Esau. This is Esau can claim Cleopatra. So-called white people can claim Cleopatra for themselves because that's actually accurate. But there's a lot of other stuff that they've claimed that they've obviously stolen, but Cleopatra's not one of them. All right, so with that, Lord willing, this has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. So till next time, I say shalom.